A new analysis of federal records by the AP showing more than 100 pregnant women in medical emergencies like ectopic pregnancies denied care in the ER since Roe was overturned. Kyleigh Thurman had an ectopic pregnancy where an embryo implants in a fallopian tube. She was initially denied an abortion in Texas, despite the law making an exception for such emergencies. Then it ruptured.
I want to have kids, and I wanted to keep my fallopian tube, but now it's gone. A piece of my womanhood was taken.
So following the overturning of Roe v. Wade back in 2022, we now know that pregnant people are being turned away at ERs and denied care when they are in urgent, dire need of it. And now, according to an AP report, more than 100 women have been turned away and suffered at the hands of negligent hospitals and doctors. And that is just a drop in the bucket, as we will look into. But specifically, the two women that are highlighted in this report are Kyleigh Thurman and the Center for Reproductive Justice, and they've both filed complaints. These two women in Texas filed complaints against those Texas hospitals for their refusal to treat them specifically for ectopic pregnancies, and that is when an egg implants itself in a fallopian tube, and there is no way for that fetus to grow, and it will eventually burst. And obviously, there is no future life for that fetus, but absolutely can endanger the life of the mother. The Biden administration says hospitals must offer abortions when needed to save women's lives, despite state bans enacted after the Supreme Court overturned the constitutional right to an abortion more than 2 years ago. Texas is challenging the guidance, and earlier this summer, the Supreme Court has declined to resolve the issue. In other words, are you required to actually save a woman's life when they are pregnant?
Hey, don't scroll away. Come back. Because before the video continues, we just want to urge you to lend your support to TYT. You power our honest reporting. You do it at tyt.com/team, and we love you for it.
Texas law allows doctors to terminate ectopic pregnancies, however, which is that condition where the fertilized egg implants in fallopian tubes instead of the uterus. Ectopic pregnancies are always non-viable and can quickly become life-threatening if left untreated. But, and this is the but, because there is technically a heartbeat still in that zygote, right? That's throwing into fray a whole world of hospital bureaucracy and doctor bureaucracy as everyone scrambles to figure out what to do. And of course, the last person they're concerned about is the patient. Kyleigh Thurman went to Ascension Seton Williamson Hospital with a tubal ectopic pregnancy, and she was discharged without any care, only given a pamphlet about miscarriage and told, quote, to let nature take its course. Thurman returned to the hospital 3 days later with vaginal bleeding and worsening symptoms. Despite her doctor's orders, the hospital refused to give her methotrexate, I'm gonna get that, which is a common treatment that stops an ectopic pregnancies from continuing to develop. Infuriated, Ms. Thurman's OBGYN met Ms. Thurman at Ascension Williamson to plead with the medical staff to give her methotrexate. The complaint said they eventually agreed, but it was too late. The ectopic pregnancy had grown too large and ruptured. Thurman nearly bled to death and had to have her right fallopian tube removed. Again, which means the ability to have kids, wanted children, is that much more difficult. Another case was Kelsey Norris de la Cruz, who has also filed this complaint, and she experienced a similar ordeal at a hospital outside of Dallas, resulting in losing her fallopian tube as well, and most of her right ovary. According to that AP report, there have been at least 4 other women with ectopic pregnancies that have had trouble receiving treatment. And again, this is part of that more than 100 pregnant women who've been in medical distress, who sought help from emergency rooms, who were turned away or negligibly treated since 2022. An Associated Press analysis of federal hospital investigations found 2 women, one in Florida, one in Texas, were left to miscarry in public restrooms. In Arkansas, a woman went into septic shock and her fetus died after an emergency room sent her home. And now that number also seems pretty low, according to ProPublica from a report they did in 2023. It's difficult to maintain the accurate data on these things, such as maternal mortality rate, because the quality of data does vary. But Mondale, there's a lot thrown at you, but this is just further proof of what happens when we deny people the right to an abortion, and specifically when we deny people the right to privacy, right? This is, it is what the right fear-mongered against during the Obamacare years, right? Oh, Uncle Sam's gonna be in your doctor's appointments. No, Uncle Sam is quite literally the person who is telling you that he cannot save your life because some bureaucrat and some judge said that when a heartbeat is detected, that's when life begins. So the fetus and maybe you have to die.
And it is the tragic part about this is American democracy now tells people 100+ women have been told by American democracy, including the Supreme Court, that yeah, you might die for trying to have a baby. You may die if you are raped and and you want to have an abortion. This is absolutely disgusting. And what the hell kind of country are we researching for when a woman says, because of a law passed by a state, a piece of her womanhood has been taken? Who is proud of that law? Where are we standing up for the least amongst these? Where are we with a constitution that for 27 amendments had added protections for people every time something changed? Now we have a Supreme Court that says we are not the voters, not what the states say, but we are the arbitrator of what's right and wrong in this country. And it is disgusting, especially when we know that the Supreme Court is nothing but an extension of partisan politics.
Absolutely. I mean, I will find this Twitter user, but my favorite tweet about all this is someone who said, yeah, let's leave it up to the states. That's great. Let's leave, abortion up to the states. In fact, let's leave it up to the counties. Let's just leave it up to the counties. I mean, let's leave it up to the blocks. Let's leave it up to the communities. Let's leave it up to the families. Let's leave it up to the people and the person who is pregnant. That's who should be making decisions about our bodies.
Thanks for watching the video, guys. We also love it if you hit the join button below because that makes you a member, and members allow us to be independent, honest. We can be as progressive as we want, no corporate media influence, and that's all because of you guys. We love doing the show with our members. Hit the join button, become one of the Young Turks.